advantage of almost 3 points on average in Florida. Look, if Biden flips Florida on election night, he probably just needs to flip one other state. This is a big prize for the Biden campaign if they can get it. And this really is.
We're live.
It's so easy to say there's must-win in politics and elections. Florida really is a must-win state for Donald Trump.
Yeah, really important one
Green.
there. Steve, it wouldn't be a town hall preview without checking in with you at the big board. Thanks so much for hanging with us tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Up next, the key factors in the presidential race with just 19 days until the election. And we are counting down to President Trump's town hall in Miami.
So we did this in lieu of...
Well,
debate.
the event starts in 10 minutes, and we're actually live now.
Okay.
So obviously, just to give the audience some perspective of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we started a
that we
newscast
know
for
of.
them. We hope your family will
Hi,
watch
Pat.
Nightly News Kids Edition.
So obviously, this was supposed to be the second presidential debate, but then Donald Trump got coronavirus, and then from there, they decided that they would try and do the second debate virtually.
Why is this happening?
Okay.
Donald Trump immediately declined to take part, and there was a bit of hum and hang, and the debate commission decided to cancel the second debate. Joe Biden had then planned to do a town hall, which is due to take place in 10 minutes' time, and Donald Trump decided to do the exact same thing. So,
Same time.
yeah. So right now, Joe Biden also has his town hall going on, but on ABC instead of NBC. So we're going to react to Donald Trump live on his town hall, and then we will react to Joe Biden's town hall later on today. Well, it's obviously midnight here in the UK, so we'll react to it once we're up, and then we'll publish that one once we've done. But we'll decide that we'll react to this one live,
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
and we'll go from there.
Welcome to
So-
Top Box.
yeah.
Firefighters have
That's
had more
beautiful.
favorable conditions, allowing them to push the flames away from homes, but the wind can change all of this on a dime.
We can continue to expect protests as people continue to call for more answers to what happened and continue to call for that accountability.
Starting to feel like a typical general election. Both candidates actually out on the campaign trail making their pitch to voters.
Nothing typical about this election.
The moment to truly understand who we are and who we say we are is right here at our feet.
The coronavirus will undoubtedly be in focus at President Trump's town hall tonight in Miami, and it is a key factor in this election. NBC News now reporting there are over 8 million COVID-19 cases in the United States. Over
8
in
million.
Wisconsin, cases are surging.
a hell of a
Today, the
lot.
state
8 million
reported
cases.
a record
Wow.
3,747 new COVID cases. More than 1,000 people in the state are in the hospital with COVID-19. That is the highest number since the start of the pandemic. NBC News political reporter Shaquille Brewster is at a drive-up COVID testing center in Milwaukee. Shaq, how is the state dealing with this spike in cases?
Well, Allison, right now you're hearing every leader, every doctor that we hear from, they're begging people to take this virus seriously. You went through the numbers there, but it is important to note that with more than 3,800 new coronavirus cases today, the state not only broke a record, they simply smashed that record. And it's the third time they have broken a record in the past week. There was also another uptick in deaths, and there was also another record day of hospitalizations. More than 1,000 people here in Wisconsin in the hospital fighting this virus at this point. So what's being done about it? We heard from the governor where he asked people to just stay home, to pull back voluntarily and focus on doing what they can to stop the spread. He tried to have a limitation on indoor gatherings at things like bars and restaurants, but that limitation was struck down by a district court just yesterday, or a county court just yesterday. He said despite that, he wants people to take it upon themselves to do what they can. Listen to what the governor said earlier this afternoon.
It is preventable. We do not have to accept rising case numbers, and we do not have to accept community spread. We control our own destiny here.
The governor in that press conference was also asked about President Trump and his plans to hold a rally on Saturday here in Wisconsin amid this spread. I'm going to read exactly what the governor said. He said, quote, unless something extraordinary happens between now and then, he'll be encouraging a super spreader event. Local officials are nervous about the president coming here and rallying with potentially thousands of people this weekend. Allison?
Are you okay with it, Gordon?
Chuck, what are people telling you at that testing site? How concerned are they about this spike, about those numbers? And are they worried enough that they're starting to change their behavior?
You know, going through and talking with people, and I do want to emphasize all my conversations were from a far distance. We zoomed into people as we were having those conversations. I was practically yelling to them at that point. But all the conversations that we were having with folks who came here to get tested, there was a mix of emotions there. Some people were frustrated by the scenes of people going out and still going to bars and restaurants, not wearing masks. Others said this was a little bit overblown. They said, although they came to get tested, they were not buying into the idea that this was as widespread as it is. Listen to a sample of my conversations earlier today.
I think that the reason why it's worse here because a lot of us believe it's an invasion on our freedom. In part. Right. And so they're like, well, I'm not going to wear a mask. They wouldn't tell me what to do.
Some people do take it seriously and some people don't. Especially like a lot of the younger crowd when they go to the bars. They go to the bars to have a good old time while everybody else is trying to stay safe. And they they don't take it seriously.
Now, because this is Wisconsin, of course, a battleground state, I did ask many of them if this coronavirus outbreak has had any impact on their vote. And to the person, not one person had told me that it did. They said most of their minds were made up already. And this either reaffirmed what they were feeling or it just didn't impact how they do plan to vote in November. One thing to note, when you look at the data and when you look at the new cases to come, while the spike in the surge in coronavirus cases, while it was started among the college-age population as school returned, as classes returned back in early September, the spike now is being driven by people over 25. It's really that community spread that's happening beyond those college towns and going really all across the state. The impact that's having is that strain on hospitals that are at or near capacity across the state and staff shortages in each region of the state. Allison?
Jack Brewster in Milwaukee for us tonight. Shaq, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jobs and the economy, the top issues for voters, according to the latest NBC News SurveyMonkey poll. And today, more bad news on the jobs front. 898,000 people filing for first-time unemployment last week. And those are just the latest layoffs. More than 10 million Americans continuing to claim unemployment to get by during this pandemic. NBC News business and technology correspondent Jo Ling Kent joins me now. Joe, we keep reporting these numbers week after week, and I think people might start to become numb to them. But those numbers we saw today, 898,000,
social
numbers
media.
that high since the end of August. So what does that tell us about where we're going with this economy and in terms of an economic recovery?
Okay.
Yeah, it turns out that the recovery continues to be very slow, and we can't forget the additional 372,000 people who applied for pandemic unemployment assistance. That's for the freelancers and the gig workers and the contract workers out there. So overall, you have 1.27 million people who filed new unemployment claims last week for the first time. So
don't press that plus button to add an image to Instagram.
Week of numbers above 800,000. We're also looking at a situation where people are looking at permanent job loss overall. Now, the
whatever that was about.
Is that continuing claims did decrease by about 1 million to 10 million people. But overall, if you look at the broader picture, 26 million people right now in our country are still collecting some form of unemployment. That means the labor market is still hurting as we head into the end of the year. And looking ahead to next year, we may be looking at even more permanent job loss and more people, especially women of color, deciding to or being forced to leave the workforce entirely, Allison.
Joe, we have heard some horrifying statistics. A Columbia University study saying that some 8 million people are considered in poverty since May. Of course, one of the big issues here is that pandemic assistance some of the benefits they could get have run out. We're hearing that some 4 million job losses that we thought were temporary might become permanent. And of course, we have no movement or no deal from Congress yet. What position does that put us in heading into the election, heading into the end of the year? What does that mean for people who are out of work and need help?
Well, there is supposedly a sliver of hope come Monday when the Senate comes back, and their plan, according to Mitch McConnell, is to debate and come to some sort of compromise with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the White House and come to some sort of agreement before the election to deliver more of a stimulus and a sense of relief here. But this is a very, very painful time, and what we do know is that a lot of the unemployed people that we're talking to, they see a tale of two economies here. They see people who are doing well not being affected, taking advantage of the work from home luxuries and being able to continue their lifestyle, while so many millions of people are, again, threatened by eviction, unable to get food on the table, and patronizing food banks for the first time ever. So you're really looking at an increasing gap in this economy, and it's not one that's going to be fixed very easily, certainly not overnight, Allison.
No, Joe, and it's not hard to see why people put jobs in the economy at the top of their list of concerns heading into this election.
Exactly.
Joe, always a pleasure to see you, even when the news is grim. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Allison.
Across the country, record numbers of voters are lining up to cast their ballots early. More than 17 million people have already voted, according to the U.S. Elections Project. We're seeing long lines at some polling places, with voters in some cases waiting hours to get in. Blaine Alexander joining us now from Georgia's
I think we looked at
largest
the same
polling
person then.
location
Yeah.
in Atlanta. Blaine, how are election officials there in Georgia, the Georgia government, handling the crush of early voting this week?
Well, Allison, they're handling it much better now than they were at the beginning of the week. You know, earlier this week, in some places, we saw some very long lines. People, in some cases, waiting for hours to cast their ballot. The good news is that as the days have progressed, we've seen those wait times significantly decrease. But let me walk you through exactly what this week has looked like. Remember, this is the very first week of early voting here in the state of Georgia.
I love the way that it's just soon.
Were set, you know, just
Yeah.
in the
I mean, we had a time for it to start,
voting, more than
and it's just, no, we're not going to put a time. We're just going to say in President's own time.
On top of the nearly
Well,
500,000
he's gotta get helicoptered in.
cast absentee ballots. So certainly
Air Force One, maybe.
Is it not Marine One if it's a helicopter?
Yeah. In line. I spoke with some people who had been waiting upwards of 4 hours to vote. Some people in some places 7-hour wait times.
And some people not wearing
that's
masks.
significantly decreased. Two factors for
Pass me your
that.
phone a
One,
sec.
the tremendous turnout, but two, technology. Just some of the technology that was being used to check the voters in was not necessarily able to process that many people, but much better now, Allison.
Blaine, glad to hear things there are improving. Blaine Alexander in Atlanta with the latest on early voting. Thank you so much.
You got it.
And thanks so much for joining us. President Trump's town hall in Miami, moderated by Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, is next.
Was that like a little...
I want to see if the
This
chat
is an
thing works.
NBC News special presentation of Today with Savannah Guthrie.
Tonight, Donald Trump in the arena. His first primetime network appearance since
Can
falling
we
ill
just type
with
it there?
coronavirus.
I'm feeling great. I don't know about you. How's everyone feeling?
Or not.
Tonight's debate
At least we can
canceled.
see
The
so we can
president
respond to
faces
people if
our
they put
questions
messages.
live and hears from voters about their concerns in the battleground state of Florida.
It's great to be back in my home state, Florida, to make my official return to the campaign trail.
With just 19 days to go, the president makes his case.
My goal is to fight for you and fight for your family.
From NBC News, Decision 2020, President Trump Town Hall.
I might have made my
Live
decision.
From the Perez Art Museum in
I need
Miami.
to Trump Hall for that.
Here's Savannah
You sure?
Guthrie.
You sure?
Hi, everybody, and good evening. It's good to have you with us, and welcome to Miami and our town hall with President Donald Trump. And we want to say right off the top, this is not how things were supposed to go tonight. This was supposed to be a town hall debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. But after the president contracted COVID, the debate commission announced it would have to be a virtual debate because of health concerns. The president then said he would not participate in a virtual debate. At that point, Joe Biden scheduled a town hall tonight in Pennsylvania on another network, and now the president is doing the same, his own town hall with the same venue, format, and time as NBC's town hall with Joe Biden last week. So key battleground state. And tonight, the president will be taking questions from voters here in Miami, who we should mention are socially distanced and they're wearing masks. And I should say, this audience looks a bit like America. It's divided. Some here voted for the president in 2016 and plan to again. Some support Joe Biden, and some say they are truly undecided. We're going to get a mix of questions on a range of topics, and we're going to get to those questions in a moment. But first, with all that ado, welcome, Mr. President, and thank you for being here.
That was very well stated, I have to say. Good job.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're well. We send our best to the First Lady and to Barron.
Thank you.
Do you have any remaining symptoms from COVID?
Nothing whatsoever. I'm great. I feel good. I was in North Carolina today and did a big rally. We had a tremendous turnout, and just feel really good. Florida.
That was the quickest recovery on the planet.
That's what happens when you're president and you can take all the drugs under the sun.
That are generally reserved for those with the most severe form of the disease.
Yeah.
How severe were your symptoms? In particular, did you have pneumonia?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel strong. I had a little bit of a temperature. The doctors at the White House are fantastic, as you can imagine, and they really didn't want to take a chance. And they said, "Let's go to the hospital." I said, "That's okay. I'm going to, respond to what you say." And we went over to Walter Reed, where you have tremendous professionals. They gave me Regeneron and Remdesivir, both. And all I know is I felt good the following day. I felt really good.
Did the doctors ever tell you that they saw pneumonia on your lung scans?
No, but they said the lungs are, a little bit different, a little bit perhaps infected. And,
infected
a doctor would never say a little bit different.
Your lungs are a little bit different. I don't know what's wrong with them, but yeah, they look different.
Much of a problem with the lungs. I did have a little bit of a temperature. Obviously, I felt there was something missing, and then I tested positive.
Well, let's talk about testing, because there's a little bit of confusion about this, and I think we can clear it up.
Yeah, and there shouldn't.
Your first positive test was Thursday, October 1st, okay? When was your last negative test? When did you last remember having a negative test?
Well, I test quite a bit, and I can tell you that before the debate, which I thought it was a very good debate, and I felt fantastically. I had no problem before.
Did you test the day of the debate?
I don't know. I don't even remember. I test all the time. But I can tell you this. After the debate...
When was the first debate?
I guess a day or so.
Beginning of October.
I think it was Thursday evening.
So he said you tested positive on the 1st of October, so it'll be the day of the debate.
That's when I first found out.
Well, back to the debate, because the debate commission's rules, it was the honor system, would be that you would come with a negative test. You say you don't know if you got a test on the day of the debate?
I had no problem. Again, the doctors do it. I don't ask them. I test all the time, and
Did you take a test, though, on the day of the debate?
If you ask the doctor, they'll give you a perfect answer.
Yeah.
But they take a test, and I leave, and I go about my business.
Did you take a test on the day of the debate, I guess, is the bottom line.
I probably did, and I took
Okay, so he did the debate on the actual 30th of September.
Yeah.
But he was basically the next day he was positive.
Yeah. Like a period of time after the debate that I said, that's interesting, and they took a test, and it tested positive.
So just to button it up, do you take a test every single day?
No, but I take a lot of tests.
Okay, and you don't know if you took a test the day of the debate?
Possibly I did, possibly I didn't, but the doctor
I thought the whole point of the debate stuff was it was part of the
doctor, it's many doctors. The one thing, as you're
thing to take a test before
you have a lot of
Yeah,
doctors
you're
you're surrounded by.
But
I was in great shape for the debate. And sometime after the debate, I tested positive.
Let's talk about...
That's when they decided to let's go.
Okay, good. I hopefully provided some clarity for folks. Let's talk about the event that was held at the White House
Still cloudy.
on the Saturday before you tested positive. Subsequent to that, 13 people connected to that event tested positive. There was an outdoor reception. You've seen the pictures. There was an indoor reception. People were not wearing masks. My question to you is, at this point in the pandemic, knowing what we know, shouldn't you have known better? Shouldn't the White House know better than to hold an event like that?
Well, they do a lot of testing in the White House.
Just tells us who they
everybody,
are.
including me, but they test everybody. And something happened, but as far as the mask is concerned, I'm good with masks. I'm okay with masks. I tell people wear masks. But just the other day, they came out with a statement that 85% of the people that wear masks catch it. So,
they didn't say that. I know that study.
That's what I heard, and that's what I saw. And regardless, but everybody's tested, and they're tested often. And I also knew that, hey, I'm president. I have to see people. I can't be in a basement. I can't be in a room. I have to be out.
You can see people with a mask, though, right?
I can, but people with masks are catching it all the time. I mean, if you look at the governor of Virginia, he was known for a mask. If you look at Tom Tillis, a great guy, he always had a mask, and they caught it.
Well, there are pictures of Tom Tillis actually with one of Judge Barrett's kids not wearing a mask. But Chris Christie, he was at your debate prep.
Yeah.
He was, I believe, at that event. He came out tonight. He was sick, very sick. He was in the hospital for about a week.
I know
He
that.
came out tonight and said, I was wrong not to wear a mask.
Well, I mean, he has to say that. I think it's great. He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. And wrong or not wrong, you have to understand, as president, I can't be locked in a room someplace for the next year and just stay and do nothing. And every time I go into a crowd, I was with the parents of our fallen heroes. These people are the most incredible people. And they came up to me and they were
I like how you reversed on that whole suckers and losers. Now they're incredible people.
I'm not going to not let them do it.
Now, there was an event with the Gold Star families the day after the Supreme Court
Gold
event.
Star event with the most incredible people you've ever seen. And I could have chosen not to talk to them or to keep everybody away. And you know what? And I don't think that's probably where it was caught, but maybe it
Well,
was.
I was going to say, you bring it up. You brought it up yourself. I mean, are you trying to suggest that? Do you believe a grieving military family gave you COVID?
No, I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
And you don't know where it came from, and the doctors don't know where it came from. But as the president, I have to be out there. I also know...
Well, there's no one that says you can't be out there, but it's just about wearing masks and having, for example, your
But I know
rallies.
this.
Your rallies
As
don't
an
require
example,
masks.
No, I mean, let's see Kamala. She's got people
like it.
now. People have it, and I'm not blaming her. I'm not saying, oh, she did a terrible thing. As president, I have to be out there. I can't be in a basement. I can't be locked in a very beautiful room someplace in the White House. And I want to see the Gold Star families, and I want to see everybody. And I also say to people all the time, it's risky doing it. It is risky doing
But
it.
as
It's
president,
risky seeing people.
you're right. You don't want to. You want to be a leader, but you also are a leader and a setter of an example. And if you're not wearing a mask when your administration is saying best practice right now is wear a mask, no, it's not foolproof.
But many
that
people
will
are catching it. Many people are getting this disease that was sent to us by China, and it shouldn't have been allowed to happen. But many people are getting this, and I mean, nobody's being blamed. Everybody is working hard to get this thing out of our country, get it out of the world. Look at what's going on in Europe. Massive spikes. They've done a very good job, but now you take a look today at the UK, you take a look at Spain and France and Italy. There's tremendous spikes.
But our death rate is worse.
Well, I mean, it's the
than
opening part of
Spain,
the
but
town
that's
hall,
not
so
right.
usually the moderator will
Tell you
ask the
exactly
questions.
opposite.
Me too.
So the UK is up 2,000.
I mean, hopefully we get to people's questions in a bit. I do agree she is being a bit too pointed, but I guess you have to be with
He's also
this
rambling and
president.
arguing with her as well.
Well, very true, but it's the whole point of the town hall is questions from the people, not questions from the moderator.
Among the highest among
I think she's just part of doing the intro, I think.
We're a winner.
Yeah, yeah.
For the excess mortality. And what we've done has been amazing. And we have done an amazing job.
But because he's not answering her questions, it just sounds like she's fighting with him and he's rambling, so it's just, well, can we get on with it?
Yeah, the town hall is supposed to be people ask the president
Addicts
questions.
do nothing or use some of the things that we're looking at, like in this case Regeneron, and Eli Lilly makes something that's supposed to be incredible. And I think that maybe I wouldn't be doing this discussion with you right now. We have therapies now and cures. Maybe you can use the word cure, but we have therapies
can't use the word
that
cure.
are absolutely incredible.
I want to pick up on something you just said. You said we're rounding the corner.
I believe we're rounding the corner.
Now,
yeah.
10% of the country approximately has had COVID. That means 80, 90%, 90%, let's do the math, is still vulnerable.
Right, that's
There's been some talk, including from the White House lately, that perhaps it approves of what's called herd immunity. That's where you basically just let young people and everybody get sick. You try to protect the old people and those who are sick, and hopefully it gets up to a certain level, and now we're all immune. So let's just be clear about it. It also means more deaths. Do you support herd immunity as a strategy? Essentially just let people get sick.
The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. We did the right thing. We were expected to lose 2,200,000 people and maybe more than that. We're at 210,000 people. One person is too much. It should have never happened because of China. It happened because of China. And you have
Why
to
can't you
get
say
that
China
and
just
understand
normally?
that.
I don't know.
It should have
So
happened.
funny.
China.
We were expected to lose.
China.
If you look
China.
at the original charts from original
China.
doctors who are respected by everybody, 2 2,200,000
That 2
people.
million figure, though, is if you
We
literally
saved 2
did
million
nothing.
people.
The 2 million figure is if you did absolutely nothing, it would be 2 million. The question is, should the deaths be better than 200,000 when relative to the rest of the world we have a worse death rate?
I left North Carolina, which I love. I left Pennsylvania. We won a big case in Michigan because that governor has a lockdown where
I wonder how that
nobody
Joe
but her
Biden town
husband
hall
can
is
do
going.
anything. He can go
I don't
voting and
know.
do
I'll
whatever
find
he
out
wants, but nobody
later.
else can. The fact is, we're winning all these cases because it's unconstitutional what they're doing, and I think they're doing it for political reasons. But the fact is, the cure. You can't let this continue to go on with the lockdowns.
Well, most
and I
of the
believe
states-
that on November 4th, you're going to have a lot of these governors. Look at what's happening to New York. New York is a mess. They lost almost 40,000 people. They have a lockdown like you've never seen. Now they're open. It's like a ghost town.
Let's get to him.
And Savannah, it's very important. People are leaving New York by the thousands. And you're going to have a hard time ever building it up again. So that cure, that so-called cure that you talk about, it can't be worse than the problem. The problem is a bad problem.
We've got more questions on COVID, so let's drop it for now. We were supposed to, as mentioned, be watching you on a debate stage right now. We're not doing that, so let's clear up a few things from the last one. You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't. You asked some follow-up questions. Who specifically? A couple of days later, on a different show, you denounced white supremacy. My question to you is,
you've done this to
why
me and
does
everybody.
it seem like
I denounced white supremacy, okay?
You did
I've
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa. I watched him on the same basic show with Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
So this is a little bit of a dodge.
Are you listening? I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
What's your next question?
Do you feel, it feels sometimes you're hesitant to do so, like you wait a beat.
Here we go again. Every time, in fact, when people came, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy. Okay. And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't know what
While
they're
we're
doing.
denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all
Where's
state
that from?
that is completely not
my ears working?
true? Disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is
If
a
you'd like me
satanic cult
to
run by the deep
study
state.
the subject, I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by
Republican
Republicans.
Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories. Why not just say it's crazy and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you
all
another
about it.
thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more in this vein.
Let me just tell you, what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia. And I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree
But
with it
there's not
very
a
strongly.
satanic pedophile cult
no
being run
idea.
by.
I know
You
nothing
don't know
about
that? Okay.
No, I don't know
You
that.
just
and
this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay.
The woman in the
just
back
this
is
week.
very animated.
Yeah. I think they put her there for a reason.
Because you just because you're
Why aren't
volunteering
you
it.
asking Joe Biden questions about why doesn't he condemn Antifa? Why does he say it doesn't exist?
Because you're here before
Antifa,
me.
no, it's so cute. Antifa
So cute.
exists. They're vicious, they're violent, they kill people, and they're burning down our cities. And they happen to be radical left.
Just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was
it.
a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it
Don't
out there.
retweet.
People can decide for themselves. I don't take a
president.
position.
You're not like someone's crazy
You're the
uncle
president,
who
though.
just
If you
retweet
retweet
whatever.
something, you are taking that position.
Yeah.
And if you're not, and you realize, you take it back, you cancel the retweet, or delete the retweet.
If I didn't have
Does he not know
social
how
media,
Twitter
I call
works?
it Twitter. I call it social media.
Well, I barely know how
wouldn't be
Twitter
able to
works,
get
so
the word
it's
out.
fine.
And the word is false. And you know what the word is? The word is very simple. We're building our country stronger and better than it's ever been before. And that's what's happening, and everybody knows it.
Okay, we
you
got
know
a
what
bunch
else
of
the word
questions
is?
for you.
We're winning in a lot of states.
Okay.
We're winning in a
That's
lot of
nice.
states. You're gonna
Let me
see that.
ask, okay, I'm glad you brought up the election because I do want to ask about that. That's another kind of leftover item. A lot of people have asked you, will you accept a peaceful transfer of power? You have said repeatedly, the only way we lose this election is if it is rigged. Now, that is simply not true. The fact is either candidate can lose fair and square without ballot
we can.
fraud.
And
So
you know
will you
what?
accept the results
Win or
of the
lose,
election?
That's the way I want it to be. But when I see thousands of ballots, right, unsolicited ballots being given out by the millions, and thousands of them are dumped in dumpsters, and when you see ballots with the name Trump, military ballots from our great military, and they're dumped in garbage cans.
That is a handful. We could go all night, which we won't.
No,
but
no,
we
it's
could go all
happening
night,
every day.
one by one, a single case, a single day. You're talking about 150 million votes. Your own FBI director says there is no evidence of widespread
really?
fraud.
Well, then he's not doing a very good job. All you have to do is pick up the papers every day. 50,000 in Ohio, the great state of Ohio. 50,000 in another location, I think North Carolina. 500,000 applications in
My guy's got to
Virginia.
yell about it. He's got a microphone on.
There's a tremendous problem. But let me just tell you, they talk about the peaceful transfer, right? They spied on my campaign and they got caught, and they spied heavily on my campaign, and they tried to take down a duly elected sitting president. And then they talk about, will you accept a peaceful transfer? And the answer is yes, I will. But I want it to be an honest election, and so does everybody else. When I see thousands of ballots dumped in a garbage can and they happen to have my name on it, I'm not happy about that.
Okay, but just those are there is in fact no evidence of widespread fraud, and you were sowing doubt about our democracy.
How can you say that? How can you say that? You do read newspapers.
I do.
You do watch the news.
Yes,
I know you read the news, but you watch it.
I do.
Because every day they're talking about ballots that are corrupt, that are fraudulent.
And millions that are being processed right now.
But you can win a race. Take a look at me. You can win a race by 1%.
But why are you laying the groundwork for that right now? It's
I'm
like
not.
if I
I don't
go
want
play
that to
tennis with
happen.
my husband and I say my ankle's
Do you
hurting
know
right
what?
now.
I don't want that to happen, Savannah. I want it to be clean. I really feel we're going to win. But I want this to be clean. But it's sort of ironic that you and them talk about the peaceful transfer when I spent 3.5 years fighting off these maniacs, and now it turns out, everything's there, that they were the ones that dealt with Russia. And it's too bad. But peaceful transfer, I absolutely want that. But ideally, I don't want to transfer because I want to win.
Yes, and I think that your words will probably reassure some folks. Let's get to our first voter. We've got Jacqueline Lugo. Now, she is, I told you this audience is truly split between y'all. You are leaning Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as an independent. Jacqueline, what's your question for the president? And you hold the mic up close and take off your mic because it's hard to hear out here.
Good evening.
How are you?
Welcome to Miami.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
Mr. President, if you knew COVID-19, as you told Bob Woodward in February.
As what?
As you told Bob Woodward in February, was airborne and deadlier than the flu, why did you only put in place a travel ban from China and not put in place other measures mitigating the spread of COVID-19, potentially saving tens of thousands of American lives?
Well, I did put it in very early, as you know. Joe Biden was 2 months behind me, and he called me xenophobic and racist and everything else because I put it in. And it turned out that I was 100% right. I also put it on Europe very early because I saw there was a lot of infection in Europe. And it's sort of an amazing question, and I appreciate the question and respect the question, but the news doesn't get out the right answer because I put on a travel ban
and UK went on full lockdown
Dr.
in the start of
Fauci
March.
thought it was
Yeah, because
necessary.
we were going to go
Far earlier
in
than the
August.
scientists. I was actually the only one that wanted to put it on, and I did it actually against the advice of a lot of people, including Nancy Pelosi, who had no clue what she was doing, and Biden. When I put on the travel ban, I put it on in January, the end of January. When I put on the travel ban, Joe Biden and others said, this is ridiculous. You don't do that. Well, Dr. Fauci said I saved thousands and thousands of lives.
He did put a travel ban in, but he put it on a precursor of other things, not just coronavirus.
Can I ask you, did
So
your
it's very
National
hard for
Security
him to take
Advisor
that
on
point
January
seriously.
28th in the Oval Office warn you that this would be the greatest national security risk of your administration? He didn't say it, or you don't remember?
I read it someplace. Maybe Woodward said it or something. But no, he did not say that. But I knew it was a big threat. At the same time, I don't want to panic this country. I don't want to go out and say, everybody's going to die. Everybody's
Isn't there a middle ground? You don't have to
there's not a
mislead,
middle
but you
ground.
can.
No, there's not a middle ground. You have to be safe, you have to be vigilant, and you have to be smart.
You're going to like this next couple of voters. It's a mom and a daughter.
Good.
Mom, Barbara, voted for you in 2016. She's leaning to vote for you again. Now, her daughter was too young to vote last time. She's going to vote for her first time in a presidential campaign, and she is leaning Biden. So imagine the dinner table at their house, okay? So, Barbara, why don't you go first and ask your question?
Bienvenido a Miami.
Thank you.
Mr. Trump, as a frontline ER doctor working through the coronavirus pandemic, I know firsthand, and I've seen that many hospitals throughout the United States are suffering financial hardships. These economic effects are trickling down to the frontline workers. We are being, across the country, frontline workers are being fired, they're being furloughed, our salaries are being cut. And this is also happening in other economic sectors as well, including the travel industry and hospitality. My question to you is, how are you going to get the United States back on track, both in terms of the economy and the pandemic?
So it's happening. We just set a record, 11.4 million jobs. We are going to have a phenomenal third quarter, which will be announced on November 1st, just prior to the big November 3rd day, where I think you're going to see a red wave. But we're going to have a tremendous announcement. I believe. I mean, we're going to find out. But GDP is going through the roof. Jobs, real estate, houses, so many things are happening. So people were saying we were going to have a 42% unemployment. Look, this was a thing that came into our country, and it happened more than 100 years ago, and it happened now. They were talking about a 42% unemployment rate.
Who was talking about that? I heard 20%.
It just came out at 7.8% unemployment, and people can't even believe it. Our economy is going to be, next year, if we don't have somebody that raises taxes and quadruples taxes, which they want to do and kills everything, our economy is going to be phenomenal next year. We're going to have a phenomenal, and I'll tell you, Savannah, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country last year, including the state of Florida, where we are now, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and Ohio, every place. We had the greatest economy we ever had. We had to close it down. We saved 2 million lives. We're opening it up. We have a V-shape, and it's coming back. It's coming back very fast. One other thing, we really helped the hospitals. We've sent billions and billions of dollars to the hospitals. In addition,
I mean, it's going to be like that everywhere because of obviously what's going on.
And we went into the ventilator business because this country was not equipped with ventilators. And I'm not blaming anybody for it. But we're now making thousands of ventilators a month, and we have all we can use. We're sending them all over the world because the world needs them. So they've worked very hard and really very, very effectively. Thank you. Great question.
Let's talk to Isabella. Put the mic close to your mouth. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, my parents are, as you heard, both frontline healthcare workers, and I've seen the physical and the mental tolls that this pandemic has taken on them firsthand, as well as the exacerbation of coronavirus due to Americans who are not wearing masks or participating in social distancing. After contracting COVID-19 yourself, has your opinion changed on the importance of mask wearing?
No, because I was okay with the masks. I was good with it, but I've heard many different stories on masks. I mean, I had, being president, you have people, they bring meals, they bring this, and I had an instance recently where a very wonderful person is bringing me a meal, and he's playing with his mask, and he's touching his mask all over the place, and then he's bringing a plate in, and I'm saying, well, I don't know if that's so good. I mean, the good news, I didn't eat it, okay? I decided not to eat it. This was a month ago, but look, you have on the masks, you have two stories. You have a story where they want, a story where they don't want. I am all for it.
I don't get that because it's just all of your public health officials, your administration, they're in unison about this. No. They're all in unison about it. The University of Washington, which is they have a model that your coronavirus task force relies on, says that if everyone wore a mask, you could cut expected deaths in half.
And then
60,000 lives.
disagree.
Well, what does that mean?
Scott Atkins, if you look at Scott, Dr. Scott, he's from great guy, Stanford. He will tell you
he's
that
not
he
an
disagrees
infectious
with you.
disease expert.
Oh, I don't know. Look, he's an expert. He's one of the great experts of the world.
But I don't get it because you have so much power and influence as president. You could go to your, you could require it in your rallies, and you could say, everyone put on a mask right now. And the University of Washington says you would save lives.
Washington, and you have other places say different things. You have a lot. Hey, Dr. Fauci said don't wear a mask, right?
At first, but then everybody agreed.
No, I don't know that he changed his mind. But then you have a report coming out 2 days ago that 85% of the people wearing masks.
I looked at that report. It's not about mask wearing. It was neutral on the question of masks.
We're on the same side. I say wear the mask. I'm fine with it. I have no problem. We're on the same side.
Let's take a break. We're going to get more questions right after
You
this.
could have avoided the whole argument by just saying, yes, wear a mask. Yeah, I'm bored.
But you just has to run. Oh, we're getting breaks. Oh, okay.
Woohoo, breaks. Break time.
We are breaking for some advertising from NBC.
Are we actually breaking for advertising?
It looks like it. Well, they have to monetize the presidential election somehow, don't they?
Okay.
Well, I think we will return in
2 minutes.
Yeah, that's off the screen.
And then I will also return in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
To use the link.
Go for it, just don't knock on it.
I know.
This is a situation where the state continues to struggle to expand its testing capabilities.
Protesters feel that they need to come out in full force and support their community because they feel like they're not getting that support from the Portland police.
Another election day coming up against the backdrop of how to keep voters safe amid a pandemic.
Certainly an interesting town hall so far. I mean,
The moment to truly understand who we are and who we say we are
10-15
is right
minutes,
here at
I
our
feel
feet.
like Savannah Guthrie could have
You got to get a four-year degree.
tried to
A four-year
not
degree
argue
is
with
super
them as much
expensive.
to
We
get
have
to the
created a
people's
system
questions,
where the
and then
ticket
she
to
could
the middle
have hammered
class
how
is
he
a
answered the
thing
people's
that
questions
middle
instead of
class
doing that
families
opening bit.
have to stress about and
I mean, I'm
borrow
not a
for
voter.
and patch together.
I'm not
Why is this
American. I
happening?
take a vested
With Chris
interest
Hayes.
because I like
Subscribe
America. But
You're watching NBC News
for
now.
me,
Got
when
some
it comes
breaking
to a
news.
town hall like this, it matters more about the people's questions, not
It's
the person
news
who's
made for your
moderating
streaming
it.
world. Live weekdays
So I guess
starting at 6
it's
a.m.
a
Eastern.
Good couple of questions.
This
to
morning
start.
across the country, what the new normal for schools
Donald Trump
will
doesn't
look
help
like.
himself. He literally just answered the question instead of doing this whole rambling rant thing.
What am I going to decide? Take care of my children
It
or
would
have
be
a
a
job?
lot easier
That's an
for him.
impossible decision.
You're creating a little community school.
We'll be back in a
This is
minute
moment
and
we
see
can
what
just
other questions we
develop
have from the people.
ourselves and develop our community.
Let's turn it over to students. How do they really feel about returning to school?
What I miss is my teachers.
They are resilient.
A surge in coronavirus infection. New developments on several fronts.
The story
Tonight, the U.S. shattering the record for most COVID cases in a single day.
from every angle.
What's your level of concern that the kids who have been told they're going to be home indefinitely won't be able to catch up?
On the ground
Do you have faith that this is going to bring about change soon?
and in depth.
Here in Portland, more protests expected tonight.
Do you think that police in this country are under attack?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
The news business is dynamic and probably has never been more important. With all that we're facing, I am so proud to bring the perspective of a Black woman, a daughter of immigrants, the wife and mother of a husband and kids who sadly are more vulnerable to police violence because of their color, a proud nerd, and a representative of the emerging America to cable TV news. I hope the great Gwen Ifill and my mom, Philomena Carolina, will look down from heaven and be proud.
We're live in Miami with President Trump for a town hall. Live in Miami with President Trump for a town hall. Thank you again, Mr. President. We have another voter now, Christy Alonso. Come on out, Christy. She is leaning slightly towards you. She says she voted for you in 2016. Christy, you ready? Take the mask off, hold the mic close, and let's hear your question.
Thank you for your service, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
We're a hardworking, middle-class family of four. My husband and I are both self-employed, and we have to get our own individual health care. As you know, the healthcare costs have gone up considerably over the decades, and you had originally said you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. What is your plan now in 2020 to make healthcare costs affordable for Americans like myself?
So we got rid of the individual mandate on Obamacare, which was the worst part of Obamacare, and now you could actually say it's not Obamacare, because that's how big it was, where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. So we got rid of that. That was a big, big thing. And by doing that, and we will always have, by the way, we're always protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and I can't say that more strongly. But we've been able to bring health care costs way down. Now, I took over Obamacare, got rid of the individual mandate, made it good, managed it much better. Remember, they had the $5 billion website disaster and all of the problems they had. The problem with Obamacare, it's not good. We'd like to terminate it, and we want a much less expensive health care that's a much better health care, and that's where we're aiming. And if we can do that, and we have a very good chance of doing it, but we've also brought down the price of Obamacare. Problem with Obamacare, it basically is never going to be great, and I want to give great health care.
Mr. President, I got to follow up on the pre-existing conditions. This is such a big issue for voters.
It is a big issue for me, too.
In point of fact, your administration is about to go to the Supreme Court to argue to throw out the rest of Obamacare, which includes the protections for pre-existing conditions. So your administration is in court right now trying to get rid of that protection.
If the other one was here, you would say that coronavirus is considered a pre-existing
better health care at a much lower price, and always, under all circumstances, we are going to protect the Republicans. And I mean, maybe I changed the party a lot over the last 3 years, but we will protect people with pre-existing conditions. And Savannah, what I want to do, get rid of the terrible Obamacare. I've already done it to a large extent because, as you know, the individual mandate is gone. That was the worst part.
You've repealed, but you haven't replaced. Now, you've been in office almost 4 years.
What we
you had both houses of Congress, Senate and House, in Republican hands, and there is not a replacement yet.
That's right. I'm sorry, but if you look, we had both houses, and what did we do? We got rid of the individual mandate.
But
that went through the legislature.
The promise was repeal and replace.
Look, we should be on the same side. I want it very simple. I'm going to put it very simple. We would like to terminate it, and we would like to replace it with something that's much less expensive and much better. We will always protect people with pre-existing conditions.
If you're successful in court in November, those pre-existing conditions, that promise will be gone.
If we don't succeed, we are running the remnants of whatever's left, because we took it apart. We are running the remnants of whatever is left much better than the previous administration, which ran it very badly. But we'd like to have new health care, much better and much less expensive.
Let me get to question number 5, and you'll like this. He's stuck in traffic. His name is Joe White. He is registered as a Democrat. He says he's leaning toward Biden, and Biden had voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And his question was, a second stimulus payment has been broadly agreed upon by the Republicans and Democrats, and yet now we're in October and it's still not passed. Why not use your office to make the second stimulus payment a separate targeted emergency relief package to help Americans weather the pandemic?
Well, we've actually passed 3 packages, and we're on our 4th, and I agree with him 100%. He should vote for me. The problem you have is Nancy Pelosi. She couldn't care less about the worker. She couldn't care less about our people, and we should have a stimulus, and I want a stimulus. The Republicans will approve a stimulus. The problem is she doesn't want to do it because she thinks it's bad for her election. The fact is she's wrong, because people know she's in our way. She's not approving it. She doesn't appreciate our people, and she doesn't appreciate all our workers. Nancy Pelosi, we are ready to sign and pass stimulus, but she's got to.
People do not love the back and forth of Washington, but this has been a roller coaster. Back in early October, you one day tweeted, "No more negotiations until after Election Day. I'm walking away." Then I think the next couple of days you said maybe we can do something targeted. Then you said, "I want a big, big bill." But then Senate Republicans said, "No, we're not for that." So you're the big deal maker. How come this is so? You yourself have changed positions.
Did you ever hear of a word called negotiation? We're negotiating, okay?
But people's lives are hanging in the balance.
And you know who I'm negotiating against? Nancy Pelosi, because she doesn't want to give the money. We should have stimulus.
He's being patronizing. She's just trying to push him on questions.
She's penalizing our people. I'm ready to sign a big, beautiful stimulus. You saw the other day, I say,
I mean, I still have the opinion I'd rather it be the audience, the people asking the questions. He doesn't answer, she pushes him on that. But no, she's pushing him on things that wasn't the question.
Because I can't get through Nancy Pelosi. If Nancy
which I think
Pelosi and I,
I'm not going to use the word
former
unfair with
representatives
that
who
man,
work
but
directly,
I
don't
think
care.
it's
If we
not what
agree to
this is
something,
supposed to
the
be.
Republicans will agree to it.
Okay.
Town hall.
Our next question comes from, this is interesting. She voted for Clinton in 2016,
Biden
but
will be
recently
treated this
changed
way.
her registration
Biden
from
will be
Democrat
treated
to
this way. He'll have a
independent.
proper town hall.
She says she's truly undecided. Her name's Becky Lightman. Hello, Becky. What's your question?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Nice to see you. Thank
Good
you.
to see you. So, corporate tax rates are a hot button issue, and you have cut corporate tax rates, and your opponent Joe Biden is planning to raise them.
Right.
A lot of Americans think that corporations don't pay their share of taxes and want to see those tax rates increase. Right. What do you say to those Americans to maybe tell them why you want the corporate tax rate lower and why that helps them?
It's a great question. We've created more jobs than this country has ever created. We're up to 160 million jobs. We were never even close to that number. We were just hitting 160 million jobs. Companies are pouring into our nation because of the tax rate. And if Biden comes in and raises taxes on everybody, including middle income taxes, which he wants to do, you will blow this thing and you'll end up with a depression, the likes of which you've never had. That's what's going to happen. We have something that's really good. The reason we're coming back so strong is because we built a very strong foundation. Companies are moving in. Car companies are moving into Michigan, into Ohio, into South Carolina and North Carolina just today. So what's happening is they're coming in because we reduced the taxes. Our taxes, our corporate taxes, were the highest in the world, and now they're among the lower taxes. They're not the lowest, but they're among the lowest.
It was reduced 21%, reduced from 35% by the 2017 tax cuts.
A very big middle income tax package. So if we get in, we're going to do the middle income tax package. But it's a great question. And if he comes along and raises rates, all those companies
it 35 is way too high.
leave the U.S. so fast
Right.
your head will
Did
spin.
Obama put
We
it to
can't let that
35?
happen.
On the subject of taxes, as you know, the New York Times has obtained, it says, years of your tax returns, among other things. It says that you have debts of approximately $421 million that you have personally guaranteed and that will come due in the next 4 years. The question is, on behalf of voters, who do you owe $421 million
First of all, let me answer. What they did is illegal, number one. Also,
No, it's
the
not.
numbers
You're
are all
president.
wrong with the numbers they released. And just so you understand, when you have a lot of real estate, I have real estate, you know a lot of it, okay?
You use your
Right
privacy
down
rights
the
when you
road,
become public
Doral.
office.
Big stuff, great stuff. I'm very when I decided to run, I'm very under-levered, fortunately, but I'm very under-levered. I have a very, very small percentage of debt compared, in fact, some of it I did as favors to institutions that wanted to loan me money. $400 million compared to the assets that I have, all of these great properties all over the world, and frankly, the Bank of America building in San Francisco. I don't love what's happening to San Francisco.
Well, do I hear you right? It sounds like you're saying $400 million isn't that much.
One of the biggest office buildings.
But are you confirming that yes, you do owe some $400 million?
What I'm saying is that it's a tiny percentage of my net
Well,
worth.
yes, it is.
You'll see that soon because we're doing things. You know, we've given, I think it's 108 or 112 pages of financial detail to elections, and you know we have to file as the president, as any politician, you have to file. Nobody ever looks at that. When they do, they see how incredible the company is, but more importantly, they see where this debt is. No,
Well, she's
I don't
agreeing
owe
to
much
everything.
money. I don't know. I owe a very small. It's called mortgages. People have a house.
Any foreign bank, any foreign entity?
Not that I know of, but I will probably, because it's so easy to solve, and if you'd like to do, I will let you know who I owe whatever small amount of money. I want to say two things. Number one, it's a very small amount of money. Number two, it's very straight. It's very, very straight. But it's a tiny percentage of
He's
the
right in one
work.
sense.
Did you ever hear the expression
420 million in
under-levered?
terms of
I'm
his assets
extremely
is
under-levered.
Here's the thing, you could clear this up tonight
He's
by just
right,
releasing
but
your
he's
tax
not right
returns
in his
yourself. I
saying
mean,
of
that's
what
what I
we
understand.
owe
I
it
think
to.
people are just wondering
Well,
if
he's
you're
still
the only.
It turned out that
He still has a vested interest in those companies, in those assets, which he shouldn't have as president.
But that's because his lawyers argued that he should be allowed to keep them because of blah, 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 blah. I was like, what?
I am underwritten. No person in their right mind would release prior to working out the deal with the IRS. And I'll go a step further. I'm treated very badly by the IRS. They treat me very, very
Everyone
badly.
gets treated badly by the
Previous
IRS.
administrations, they treat
Not
me very
just you,
badly.
but sorry.
But we're under audit. It's very routine in many ways, but we're under audit. They like to change the game, change the rules, do everything. You saw what they did with the Tea Party people. You saw what they did with the religious
But to be
group.
clear, there is no law or rule that prohibits you from releasing your tax returns.
Except common sense and intelligence and having lawyers that say, because I would love to release them, and as soon as we come to a conclusion, I will release them, and very gladly. But if you go to elections, and if you take a look, you'll see 112, I think it's 112. It talks about the income, which is rather massive. It talks about all of the properties. They have them listed. You can never learn more. But you know what happened? People went there. All the reporters went there. It was like a feeding frenzy. This was originally when I filed it. And I filed it every year. I update it every year. My son is here. They run the company. I don't run the company.
It also says that you paid $750 in taxes in the year you were elected.
Yeah,
is that
that's
true
a
or not?
statutory number. It's a statutory.
But
it's
is
not
that true?
I think it's a filing number. You pay $750. It's a
But is
filing
that
or
all you
filing
paid? 'Cause
fee.
most people here probably paid
No,
more.
I don't know. I can tell you this. If they have my tax returns, as you know, they have to go to jail. It's illegal. But their numbers were wrong. But let me tell you what else. I don't owe money to any of these sinister people. This has been going on for years now. Russia, Russia, Russia. It turned out to be a hoax. And it turned out to be that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats were dealing with Russia, not me. It's a whole hoax. So
on your behalf, though, I mean, one of your closest advisors at the time was part of the Hillary Clinton email
like I have, and they're big and they're beautiful and they're
so
well located.
how are you not directly involved in that?
The amount of money, $400 million, is a peanut. It's extremely underlevered. And it's levered with normal banks. Not a big deal.
All right, let's take a break. We'll get more voter questions right after this.
Oh, another break.
Did we just not have one? Was there an advert in the last one?
Not really, it was more NBC stuff, just advertising money stuff. Yeah, 3 more minutes. I mean, the whole thing with his tax returns and his financials and stuff like that is, yes, it's an issue because as an American, I would want to know what this billionaire has actually paid in tax when he's saying that he's going to fix the tax system and have everyone pay tax appropriately. Because if he's paid
this is a situation where the state
nothing
continues to struggle
in
to
his
expand its
10,
testing
20
capabilities,
years, which it seems to be that he has done, he seems to have deferred all of his payments because of loans.
Well, what's funny about his taxes is he might have cut the tax rate from 35%
Another election day coming up
to
against the
21%.
backdrop of how to
The
keep
middle class
voters
got a
safe
hike.
amid a pandemic.
Yeah, that's the problem. He decreased corporation tax, which I would in the face agree with. But then he raised the tax for the middle class. No, you raise the tax for the upper class and lower the corporation tax. That's how you make that fair. So if you have someone that's earning over $1 million per annum, they pay more tax than someone who's earning $500,000 per annum or $250,000 per annum. That's the way you do it. You don't automatically do it in a sense of, oh, we've lowered the corporation tax and then everyone over, say, 50 grand a year gets taxed higher. That just hurts the middle class.
No, even those that are lower than that. I only make $40,000 a year. My taxes went up.
Yeah, but didn't your taxes not also drop because of other things that he did as well in the tax system? It was more than just federal and corporation. It was
federal income, Social Security,
take care of my children, or have a
everything
job.
they all went up.
So he basically, instead of
This is a moment we
putting
can
the right things
develop
up, he put
ourselves
the wrong
and
things
develop our
up,
community.
or allowed the
turn it over
Republican
to
Party to
students.
make sure
How
that
do
their
they really
pockets were
feel
being
about
lined
returning
with
to
the
school?
new changes.
Because there's more middle class and lower class than there are upper
They
class.
are resilient.
You're going to get more money if you increase the rates on the middle and lower
Well,
class.
it's like in the UK, the country basically runs on the middle class and sole traders and people doing their thing, whereas in America it seems to not run at all for the lower class, and then seems to be that it's a kingmaker type country.
Yeah, the middle class is stronger.
Do you have faith that this is going to bring about change?
Whereas the lower class is
Here in
growing
Portland, more protests
substantially.
expected tonight.
Do you think that police in this country are under attack?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
The news business is dynamic and probably
Like
has
for me,
never
when
been
it came
more
to the
important.
2016 election,
With all that we're facing,
his
I am
taxes
so
were
proud
so
to bring
much
the
more
perspective
important than
of a
Hillary's
black woman,
emails to me.
a daughter of
If I
immigrants,
was a voter,
the wife
I
and
would
mother
be not
of husband
voting
and
for Trump
kids
pure
who
and simply
sadly
because he was
are
being
more
squirrely about
vulnerable
his
to
taxes.
police violence because of their color.
Hillary was being
a
squirrely
proud
about her
nerd
emails.
and a representative of the
emails
emerging
while she was the
America to
Secretary
cable TV news.
of
I
State.
hope the great Gwen Ifill and my mom, Philomena Carol Lamina, will look
One,
down from heaven
I
and be
understand
proud.
fully as a citizen, you're
gotta
squarely your
get a four-year
taxes, you
degree,
should be
but a four-year
prosecuted
degree
for
is
it
super
and
expensive.
pay what you
We
should
have
be
created
paying.
a system where
The
the
other one,
ticket to the
I'm not
middle class
100% sure about.
is a thing that
So I kind of
middle-class
put that in the
families
foreground of
have
it, and I try and work out what the heck,
stress about and
what
borrow
happened.
Yeah, but
for
before,
and
well
patch
before the
together.
election,
Why is this
the
happening?
case
With
about
Chris Hayes.
Hillary's emails
Subscribe now.
dropped. They couldn't find any information on it.
And then it was reopened because of Trump's campaign getting the Russians to leak it all on WikiLeaks with Julian Assange's
We're
help.
live in Miami in the middle of a town hall with President Trump. Thank you again for being here. We've
back.
got another voter, Adam Sugar. He voted for Clinton in 2016. He's registered as a Democrat and says he's supporting Biden. Adam, take it away.
Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. 4 years ago, Senate leadership said it was inappropriate to push through a nominee in an election year. Yet they fast-tracked your nominee for the Supreme Court just today. The question I have for you is, what do you say to the voter that thinks it's hypocritical to act in that manner and that they can't trust Republicans' word?
So when I was elected and when a president is elected, they're elected for a period of 4 years. And Justice Ginsburg said it best, I think talking about President Obama having to do with somebody else, that the president is put there for 4 years, not for 3 years. So during this fourth year, it happened to come up, unfortunately, because I had great respect for Justice Ginsburg, but a vacancy happened to come up, and we picked somebody that's outstanding. She has been an absolute star.
Has she confirmed? They
I'm
confirmed yet?
extremely proud of her. But again,
It's going
plenty
to
of
vote,
time.
I
mean,
think,
there's plenty of time.
in a
We're going to
couple
go
of
before
weeks,
the election, but
Oh,
we
I
also
hope-
have
I hope
much
she isn't
time after
confirmed.
the election, but there's no
But
reason
it
to
looks
wait.
like they've
Because
done
it's
their whole
almost unanimous, it
processing of,
seems to me,
you know, the
certainly within
Kavanaugh
the
thing of
Republican
doing the
Party, and
interview
frankly,
stuff
most
in
of the
front of him, and he
Democrats
just confirmed
within
that for
closed rooms, I
they just haven't
guarantee
done
you
the vote
that
yet, and
this
send
is
it
an
out in 2
outstanding
weeks.
person.
Yeah.
And
She is not
I'm
good for
using my
the
fourth term.
country.
And you know, if you look at it, and if you put
Just to
the
clear one
issue
thing
on
up,
the
though,
other foot,
a president
if they
who
had
does
this,
his
they would
first
do it
term
100%.
is only technically
So
president
there's
for
been
3.5
29
years.
times when this has happened.
Not
All
only do you
29
end up
times,
campaigning
a
for the last
president has
6
done
months,
exactly what I've
but
done.
you're also not in
Can I
office
just,
for the
the
full
voters'
6
point,
months
I'll just
because
say
you
that in
get debunked in
2016 you were
November
on
and you're out by
another show,
January.
actually another morning
So it's
show,
only 3.5
and you were
years.
asked whether
Your
President
second term, you
Obama
actually do have your
should
full 4
nominate a
years.
Supreme Court Justice
But only if you're
Merrick
good enough
Garland,
to
and
get
you
that,
said,
that
I
second
think the
term.
Senate should wait until the next president and
And
let the
Obama
president
got his
pick.
4 years
Now,
and
that
could have
was
said
8
exactly the
months
same as
before the
you,
election. This is
but he
3 weeks
decided
before
that he
the
would
election.
Respect, by the way,
So you
have
have
respect
changed your position
for
on that.
I have a lot
the
of respect for
role
Jim
of
Carroll, and I will
president
tell you that. But I'll tell you, the
and
whole
not do
ball
it.
game changed when I
By
saw
doing
the
that,
way they
he's
treated
screwed everybody
Justice
because Donald
Kavanaugh.
Trump's not honorable.
I have never seen any human being, and I'm not just talking about Supreme Court, I have never seen a human being treated so badly with false accusations and everything else. I have never seen anything like it. And you know what?
Why
The
Brett
truth is,
Kavanaugh?
Susanna, like it or not, the ball game changed
What about
a
Colin
lot.
Kaepernick?
There has never been anybody treated so
They don't
badly as now Justice Kavanaugh.
You've mentioned that you would like to see Amy Coney Barrett confirmed to the Supreme Court
Oh, he was talking
in
about
case
Kavanaugh
any
there. Okay.
challenges come up in connection with the election. Do you expect her to rule for you?
I think she'll have to make that decision. I don't think she has any conflict at all. You know, a Supreme Court judge does not have, I mean, they can make their own decision. And they actually have additional power to make that decision. It would be totally up to her. I would think that she would be able to rule either for me or against me. I don't see any conflict whatsoever. We have an election coming up. I think it's the most important election in the history of our country. If for any chance, and it probably won't, and I hope it doesn't ever get to the Supreme Court, but if it did, I would think that she would rule one way or the other. I would think so.
But for you think she would rule for you?
I have no idea.
I mean, of course she'll rule one way or the other, but
believe it or not, I never asked her about it. I never talked about it. I didn't talk about any of the obvious things that you could talk about. And I think a lot of people in my position might.
Anyone in your office do it?
But in speaking to a lot of very brilliant people and people that do this for a living, they say it's better not to talk. So I talked to her about life. I talked to her about the fact, would you like to do this? Are you willing to do this? Because it's a tremendous burden. The answer was yes. She's unbelievably well qualified, but I never spoke to her about these various questions.
let's get our next voter. She's leaning to you, Mr. President. She voted for you in 2016. She is a registered Republican. Her name is Mariah Green. Mariah, what's your question?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm honored to be with you here tonight, sir, so thank you. I'm a pro-life millennial, and my question for you today is, if Roe v. Wade is ultimately overturned in the future, what protections would be put in place or kept for where the mother's life is in jeopardy in relation to high-risk pregnancies?
Well, again, I'm not ruling on this.
Like
and
pro-life
Roe
or
v.
you're not
Wade is
pro-life?
something that a lot of people would say, obviously,
Well, hold on a
you're
minute.
going
Hold
to
on.
speak to
You
somebody.
can't have your cake and eat it, love.
She wants her cake and eat it.
Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh.
Sorry,
I never spoke
but
to them
you
about
can't be
Roe v.
pro-life
Wade. I never
and then
spoke to
go,
them about
oh, but what about
election
these
laws. I never spoke to
circumstances?
them about anything. And I've done the right thing from a moral standpoint. I don't even know from a legal standpoint, but it was the right thing. I think, depending on what happens with Roe v. Wade, I think that perhaps it could get sent down to the states, and the states would decide. I also think perhaps nothing will happen. I have not talked to her about it. I think it would be inappropriate
That's just going to
to
cause
talk to her
people to
about
go
it.
across
And
state
some people would
lines
say
to
you
get it
can
sorted,
talk to
and
her
then
about it.
that
I just
becomes
think
a
it would be
legal issue
inappropriate.
between
What
the
is
People
your
already leave
preference?
Texas
Because
to go get their
agreed, that's not
their stuff
something you should
taken
talk
care
to the judge about. But would you like to see Roe versus Wade
Up
overturned?
until like a couple of years ago, Northern Ireland had the same issue.
A brilliant jurist, a brilliant person who has done this in great depth and has actually skirted this issue for a long time, make a decision. And that's why I chose her. I think that she's going to make a great decision. I did not tell her what decision to make, and I think it would be inappropriate to say right now, because I don't want to do anything to influence her. I want her to get approved, and then I want her to go by the law, and I know she's going to make a great decision for our country.
But you
along
running
with
as
the
a
other
pro-life
people I put
Republican,
there.
most pro-life Republicans would like to see Roe v. Wade overturned and abortion banned.
Many of them would.
What do you
Perhaps
think?
most of them would. I am telling you, I don't want to do anything to influence anything right now. I don't want to go out tomorrow and say, oh, he's trying to give her a signal, because I didn't speak to her about it. I've done the right thing in so doing. How she's going to rule, you're going to find out perhaps, or you
What
might
is your
not find
stance
out.
on it?
I mean,
I think
it may
that's
never
what the
get
question
there.
was, wasn't
It may never get there. We'll see what happens.
All right, we have another question. This is Cindy Velez. She is undecided. She says she's leaning to Biden, and she did vote for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Democrat. Hi, Cindy. What's your question?
Good evening, Savannah.
Cindy,
Good
thank
evening,
you.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
As the mother of a young male of color, I have raised him to respect authority, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also out of fear that he may face profiling or be considered a criminal. As an educator, I've also had similar conversations with my high school students. Mr. President, what will you and your administration do to better prepare our law enforcement officers to work in collaboration with the communities that they serve, and also to protect the lives of innocent Black and Latinos from police brutality and injustice?
Right. I fully understand the question, and I saw everything that you saw over the summer, and it was a terrible thing to watch. We were very strongly, we have a senator named Tim Scott from South Carolina. He came up with a bill that should have been approved. It was great. It was a bill that was strong in terms of law enforcement and strong in terms of enforcing the proper thing and doing the proper thing by law enforcement. And the Democrats just wouldn't go for it. They wouldn't go for it at all. And I don't know why, because it was a really great bill. But I do have to say this. And some people don't like it when I say it, but a lot of people agree. I have done more for the African-American community than any president, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, historically Black colleges and universities. I got them funded. They were on a year-to-year basis. They could have been put out of business. As soon as our country had a little bad year, they would have said, I'm sorry, we're not going to fund you. I got them 10-year funding and financing, and more than they even asked for. I became very friendly with a lot of the heads. But we've done more, and of course, opportunity zones. But criminal justice reform, everybody said it could not be done. President Obama and Biden never even tried to do it. They never even tried. But I say that, and I say it often, I'll say it loud, and I'm very proud of it. And I have a great relationship because of what I've done with the African-American community. I'm very proud of it.
Let's go to our next question. We have Paulette Dale. She leans slightly to Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Republican. Paulette, what's your question?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, you have a great smile.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, he does. You're so handsome when you smile. Okay.
Okay.
the daughter of immigrants to the United States who fled Eastern Europe due to religious persecution, the United
Like a
States
serial killer when you
immigration
smile.
policies are very personal for me.
Right.
Surveys show that most Americans and the majority of Republicans support the Dreamers program. So my question for you, Mr. President, is if you are elected to a second term, do you expect to pursue your previous efforts to cut the DACA program?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
And the DACA is somewhat different than Dreamers. You understand that, and you understand it better than anybody probably in this room. Where do you come from, by the way, originally? Where?
My grandparents were from Russia and Poland.
That's very good. Okay. So we are going to take care of DACA. We're going to take care of Dreamer. It's working right now. We're negotiating different aspects of immigration and immigration law. We built now over 400 miles of border wall, southern border. Mexico's working very closely with us. We have the strongest border we've ever had. We want people to come into our country. They have to come in legally. But we are working very hard on the DACA program, and you will be, I think, very happy over the course of the next year.
Thank you.
Because I feel the same way as you do about it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, in point of fact, the DACA program, there are, under your administration, no new applicants are allowed. And in fact, the DACA recipients now have to renew every year as opposed to every 2 years. So in fact, the DACA program has been curtailed by your administration.
Well, what happened is because of the pandemic, much changed on the immigration front.
What are you gonna-
Mexico is heavily infected, as you know, and we've made it very, very
You've got more
difficult to come in
infections than
because of the
Mexico.
pandemic.
Don't even try
One of
it.
the reasons, and
You can't
trying,
blame
but we have a
the
very
failure of
strong border
DACA
right
on
now, and we have to keep it that
COVID-19.
way. But we want people to come into our country, but they have to come in through a merit system, and they have to come in legally. And people are very, very happy with it. You haven't heard any complaints about that. But what happened is because of the pandemic, we have to be extra cautious.
You have been promising this immigration bill since, well, at least July when you told my colleague on
Well, no,
Telemundo
but
it was
it's-
coming, but
it's-
nothing's come yet.
It's very happy. The fact is, we got rid of catch and release, which is a disaster. You know, you catch somebody, they could be a murderer, they could be a rapist, and we're supposed to release them into our country. These are the laws that I inherited. We ended that program. Now, I think you're going to see something very, very good. The whole immigration, if you look at what's going on, people used to pour into our country, and especially during the pandemic. I think even you, Savannah, will be very impressed.
Sir, we have about 30 seconds left. I think about people sitting out there tonight. There are some who love you. Some of them are sitting right around here, and some who will never vote for you. But there are people in the middle. There are people who
I have
aren't
a feeling
sure.
she's one of them.
There are people who
She
want
would
to
never
know
vote. The way she said
why
it.
they should give you a second chance and how you might improve in a second term. 30 seconds. What would you say to them?
Because they've done a great job. We have the strongest economy in the world. We closed it up. We are coming around the corner. The vaccines are coming out soon, and our economy is strong. We are at a level with jobs like we've never been before. We've rebuilt our military. We've rebuilt our
getting out her
borders. We
COVID
had
makeup.
no borders. We had no nothing.
Putting her phone
We've
away.
rebuilt so much. We've given you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country, greatest
you fucking
regulation cut, equally as important, and we created new
Why not say
levels
that?
of jobs
Oh, I
that
already said
nobody
it.
thought was possible. And
I'm not even
next
paying
year
attention
is
here at
going
this
to be
point.
better than ever before.
I got to leave it there.
I lost attention. They said he was doing a good job.
Mr. President, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the voters' questions. That concludes our town hall. We do want to thank the president again, as well as our audience in hot Miami and all of you watching at home. And a reminder, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are scheduled to meet in person a week from tonight in Nashville, a second and final presidential debate moderated by our own Kristen Welker.
Okay. Well, there was the President Trump town hall.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't much of a town hall. I'm gonna be honest here. Got, what, 7 questions from the public, while Savannah Girth, whatever her name is, decided to talk for more than half of it. She did ask, like, she was part of it for more than half of what it was.
Yeah.
It was more or less just a Q&A
Part of it was
session.
closure from the last debate, though.
It is, but she could have done those questions, allowed him to ramble, and then go on to the actual public questions, or get the public to ask the questions, and then ask the questions around that. There was no point of the 20-minute monologue we had to start, and then it was like, well, hold on a minute. is this a town hall or is this just you having a Q&A with the president?
Q&A with the president,
more or less. So obviously we've got Joe Biden's.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing that one.
Town hall. It's live at the minute, so we will obviously respond to it as a video and hopefully get that up for you later on this evening. I don't know. It depends where you are when you're watching this.
Yeah. Probably will be later on tonight.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, that town hall was a bit of a silly setup.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things where Donald Trump actually came across pretty well, in my opinion, compared to what he has done in the past, especially in the last time he was on TV.
I don't know. I hear him talking. I wanted to stab a fucking pen in my eyes.
I don't know him to see him, but he came across a hell of a lot better than he did in the debate. So when your bar is so low, and he's actually able
But he's
to
still
go above
telling
that
lies.
bar, he still
There's no
comes across
facts in
better.
there. I mean, I could fact check while we're watching it, and a lot of those were not facts.
But everything he was saying there wasn't factual. As in, nothing was fact. Because he was going this, and this, all basically contradicting. So how is there a fact in there?
There isn't. And that's, I mean, people want to know the truth. They want to know what he actually will do. Like, he didn't even give an answer on Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, what his opinion was.
His opinion. We want to know what the president thinks, not what the Supreme Court justice thinks.
But equally, I would say that if you had an opinion and you didn't want to share it, you're equally allowed to not.
Well, it's a political. I've always voted for somebody based on what they believe in and what they say that their values are.
True, but sometimes it speaks louder when they don't tell you their opinion on something.
I know exactly what his opinion is without him even saying it. He's not for Roe versus Wade.
I disagree.
Don't.
He's a closeted Democrat.
Yeah.
There are so many things that you think he's for and against. Nah, he's just for himself. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit about Roe versus Wade. He probably barely understands what Roe versus Wade actually is. But
and clearly
are we saying is he pro-life?
He's pro-life.
I don't think he is. I think he's just
he's
pro Donald Trump.
Oh,
he doesn't
that's pro-life,
care.
isn't it?
He doesn't care. So there's a lot of those things where you're talking about, well, is he pro-life? Is he religious? Is he this? Well, Donald Trump is for himself. He is the deity. He is the God in his own head.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about things like that, and you're never going to get a straight answer from him. Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's like I put it to this context. Obama was not religious.
No.
And anytime he was asked, he would do it in a respectful way, but he never actually answered it.
Because the America's got issues with the atheists. They won't.
No, I know they have issues, but he did a very good job to be respectful about it, but also not answer the question.
Yep.
Donald Trump is not answering the question, but being disrespectful about it.
Yep.
That's where he hasn't learned that ability to be able to talk his way out of things.
Yeah.
Oh. I say that, but he gets away with a lot. But
he does.
Yeah.
He does.
So yeah, that was the Donald Trump town hall. The next time we'll see Donald Trump will be in the final debate, which takes place, I think, on the 28th of October, in and around that time. And then we have the election night, which is on
election night.
3rd of November.
I don't know when. I thought you had this schedule already.
I do. It's on our YouTube channel. We have the live events saved, and obviously we'll respond to the Joe Biden town hall in the next.
For you guys that are over here in the UK, that want to watch it, we'll get that up for you guys.
Yeah. So thanks all for watching. Hope you enjoyed our reactions. If you would like to leave a comment in the section below, give us a like, and obviously smash that subscribe button. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. See you.